Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson literally broke down in tears crying after being humiliated by his own party. Brandon Johnson is now so unpopular after raising property taxes by 100% that even the Democrat city council members have officially turned on him. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel. This is an amazing one, but let's start with the literal mayor of Chicago crying in public.
Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson shedding some crocodile tears today after his beloved corporate head tax proposal got nixed from the city council's alternative budget proposal.
There are lines of Chicagoans right now of people who do not have food, you guys. And if you've never gone hungry, you wouldn't know why I have that urgency. If you've never opened up your refrigerator and there's nothing in it, poverty sucks. Corporations are making a killing right now, and we have alders that are more interested in defending these big corporations than families like mine who went without food and electricity and could not afford rent and mortgage. Get me something I can work with.
That is the most shameful, degrading, humiliating thing I've ever seen from another grown man. Brandon Johnson is trying to ruin Chicago by taxing all of the businesses out of the city. The city council rightfully stopped his disastrous plan, and then he gives us the worst fake crying performance in history to appear sympathetic and try to pretend that he was just doing it to help out poor people, guys. The poverty sucks. The corporations aren't paying their share. Smash the like button if you enjoyed that. I thought it was hilarious. But the city of Chicago is running at a $1 billion deficit, and to try and solve the problem, the city hired a consulting agency, which found enough non-disruptive cuts that could take the city out of its billion-dollar deficit and put it in a $400 million surplus. But Brandon Johnson refused. He also refused to stop giving free welfare to the city's over 100,000 illegal aliens. And in his disastrous elementary school quality theatric performance, he tried to make it seem like he was taxing corporations to help put food on the table for poor people. But he's not. He wants to spend that money on a violence prevention program where they hire ex-cons to prevent violence in the black community. A program that's already failed so badly that we saw a man who was wanted in 6 different states standing next to the governor of Illinois who touted him as a valuable community asset. And all of this abject, undefensible stupidity has caused the Democrat City Council to turn against Brandon Johnson. And here is one of those city council members absolutely destroying him. Grab your popcorn and watch this.
This is an issue, guys, of how do you perform the best in order to sell the worst policy possible that's going to shift the burden of taxation away from downtown as you continue to chase businesses out and put it on the property owners, the homeowners of the city of Chicago, who are already seeing a 16% increase in their property taxes thanks to his policies that have chased businesses out of this city. What the mayor doesn't tell people while he's tearing up for the cameras is that just last year he tried to stick homeowners with a $300 million property tax increase, as well as hundreds of millions of dollars in new fines and fees. He's doing it again this year. But in order for him to make that campaign pledge that he wants to tax the rich, this is the performance we get. It has nothing to do with helping everyday Chicagoans because he had none of these tears when he was giving away $600 million to take care of 60,000 Venezuelan migrants here in the city of Chicago.
Also, just for the folks at home, you've got a D next to your name. So you're a Democrat, you're in the same party as the mayor here. You know, Raymond, so Seattle tried and then repealed a similar head tax in 2018 because guess what? Companies like Amazon threatened to withhold expansion. Why does he think Chicago would be any different?
You know, it's very interesting for me personally to hear Mayor Johnson talk about all of these failed policies as though they are somehow going to magically work simply because we have Lake Michigan right behind us. They are not going to work. We know what we need to do if we want to lessen the tax burden on working families is that we need to grow the economy. We need to invite businesses back. We need to put people to work. And his $21 a person head tax, while it sounds low, will cost company millions. Take, for example, our local grocer, Jewel. hires 35,000 people here in the city of Chicago, they would have to pay $7 million a year just for the purposes of putting people to work. I doubt they would stay just because of that.
Yeah, it's that bad. But he said one thing that highlights the true problem of Mayor Brandon Johnson, above all of his other very many and severe problems. The city needs growth, but growth requires capitalism. And Mayor Brandon Johnson is a devout socialist. We spent all this time talking about Zohran Mamdani because he was a foreign socialist, but Brandon Johnson is arguably the scariest and most ideologically radical out of all of them. He called for a general strike to shut down the entire economy at the No Kings protest. Literally every single person, the Democrat city council members, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, all disagreed with his tax proposal. The only group that proudly endorsed it was Brandon Johnson's very own Chicago Teachers Union, which is, if you're unfamiliar, a literal Marxist activist organization in charge of teaching the kids of Chicago. And you wonder why they spend more money per pupil than anywhere in America, yet none of the kids can read, write, or do math. Brandon Johnson has 100 different ways he could balance the city's finances, but he rejected all of them and pushed forward vehemently with the one plan that would take more money from businesses and rich people. And his explanation was because he feels he's entitled to it. He's repeatedly explained he's not looking to spend money effectively or efficiently or even in a way that yields some sort of positive benefit. He just wants government to be in charge of everything, and he's going to make it happen. And because of his anti-business policies and unwavering commitment to illegal aliens, he's run cities out of Chicago, which has lowered taxes, and kept every illegal on welfare, which raised costs. And to pay for all this, he doubled property taxes in the black neighborhoods in Chicago. Take a look at what the county treasurer said.
Look at this bill. This is somebody whose bill in South Chicago went from $1,800 rather to $3,900. And here it shows you on the bill, where does your money go? It tells you whether or not your bill went up or down based upon a particular agency. And you see here the Board of Education is approximately 60% of the bill. So you don't have to pay this bill on December 15th. You can pay it over a 13-month period of time, a payment plan with 9% interest. You want to wonder why these bills for the residences, in particular, look at this. These were the hardest hit. The hardest hit were West Garfield Park, which is up 133%, North Lawndale, which is up 99%, and Englewood, which is up 82%. Let me show you the Englewood bill. Here, this person, it was $988. It's gone up to $2,300.
Oh my goodness. But how is that possible when we're talking about neighborhoods that have a median income of $20,000 or $30,000?
It's possible when the city council votes on improvements, and those improvements include something that allows the entire group of residences and commercial buildings to pay more.
So not only did they double the property taxes in predominantly black areas, but if you can't afford it, too bad. Now you're forced to get a 9% interest rate government loan, or else they'll seize your house. And all this from Brandon Johnson, who constantly complains about racism, who claims Donald Trump and white supremacy are harming black people, who claims that he's a black supremacist, he stands with black people, loves black people, fights for black people, but loves illegal aliens so much more that he's forcing the already struggling black community to pay for them to get free welfare. In that same interview, the treasurer says that the suburbs of Chicago got hit with modest 10-11% property tax increases, which is still a ton, but certainly not as crippling as what Brandon Johnson did to the group of people he claims he's specifically and exclusively trying to help. Tomorrow, I'm going to be dropping a video covering the entire interview with that treasurer because, guys, she spills all of the beans on Brandon Johnson. She exposes all of his corruption and dysfunction and reveals that the city of Chicago is on the verge of collapse and destruction. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and turn on those notifications. Look forward to that one tomorrow. But in the midst of raising the property taxes on everyone in Chicago, would it surprise you to know that members of the Teachers Union board are having their property taxes waived? One board member was exposed for fraudulently claiming her house as a church to avoid paying property taxes. That is but one little taste of the corruption occurring under Brandon Johnson. But let's listen to another city council member shred Brandon Johnson for his stupidity.
The mayor himself fighting off efforts by a group of 26 alders to modify his budget proposal, including eliminating the mayor's head tax on companies with more than 100 employees, which is expected to raise $100 million for youth jobs and violence prevention programs. It's an idea the mayor adamantly supports as part of a budget focused on taxing the rich.
I think it's pretty straightforward here that we can either balance this budget off the backs of working people or challenge 3% of the largest corporations in the city of Chicago to put more skin in the game.
The Small Business Administration has identified small businesses that's 500 and under. Yet this mayor's administration has decided that 100-person company is a large corporation. So in essence, he's targeting the micro small businesses that are in our communities.
The Johnson administration, in a letter to alders, rejecting one by one all the alternative budget proposals for various reasons.
So for them to ignore the city council and say, no, we're just going to forge ahead is wrong-headed and it's not good governing.
Brandon Johnson is the tyrant he claims Donald Trump is. He believes in an all-powerful government that is in charge of everything with him sitting at the top of it. And in this next clip, I'll show you he literally admits that out loud. But if you run the clip back, Brandon Johnson used his intelligence-insulting, Democrat-focused group political jargon to obfuscate what he actually means. We want to challenge businesses to contribute more. You're not trying to challenge them to do anything. You're trying to steal more of their money by force. You're trying to compel them to give you more of their stuff through the heavy-handed authority of government. He's trying to create this moral issue where the onus to perform is on the business, where he's just simply challenging them to donate an itsy-bitsy tiny bit more, and they're the bad guys for not wanting to help out poor people. It's intentional coded language that's meant to manipulate and emotionally blackmail businesses into doing what you want. It's basically extortion. It's no different than a mob boss saying, you need to pay me for every employee you have if you want to do business in this city. Because Brandon Johnson sees himself as a mob boss in control of Chicago. He thinks he's Al Capone 2.0, and he admits as much right here.
That the fact that you think that a Christmas market across the street from City Hall is more a threat to public safety than violent black teenagers running down State Street shooting people at a Christmas tree lighting shows your priorities. What do you say to those people, citizens, black, brown, business leaders? What do you say to those people?
Got it.
Yeah. That if they get a phone call from you or they get an interaction with you, they should avoid you. I'm not going to entertain, because the whole premise of everything that you bring up is not only disgusting and racist.
Really?
It does no fact to it.
So the attack on Bethany McGee, you think she deserved that? Is that what you're saying?
I hire 36,000 people work for the city of Chicago right now. So I do know what it's like to run a major operation. I have the biggest corporation right now in the city of Chicago right now.
And that's the problem.
Run that clip back and look at his body language when he says, I got the biggest corporation in the city right now. It is braggadocious, dominant, and intimidating. He revealed clear as day he is on a massive ego trip. He sees himself as the big dog of the big corporation, and that's why he doesn't want to reduce the budget in any way. He only wants more money and to expand the scope and size of government. And that's why I said Brandon Johnson is arguably the most dangerous socialist of them all. Because yeah, he'll pretend like he wants to use government to help people out, to make people's lives better, to help out poor people and brown people who are exploited by capitalism. But he will also come out and plainly say what every socialist truly feels in their heart. They want to use their monopoly on force to expand their power as exponentially as possible to have as much control over people's lives as possible. The boy really thinks he's Al Capone sitting in City Hall. But this last clip I'm going to show you might be the most jaw-dropping of them all. Despite all the economic and financial problems happening in Chicago, look at the program they just decided to greenlight.
One of the country's largest counties now securing a universal basic income program where low-income households are guaranteed monthly payments. Fox Business's Kelly Saberi is live from Chicago, where this program is unfolding after a lot of public discourse over this decision. Kelly.
Good morning, Cheryl. This is what we know so far. $7.5 million will go towards this program, but who qualifies, how much the payments will be, and what recipients can spend this money on are still up in the air. The group Economic Security Illinois says almost all of the participants use these payments of Cook County's 2022 pilot program for their basic necessities.
So despite being $1 billion in the hole, they're giving out $7.5 million to people for absolutely nothing. This is the Democrat strategy when it comes to slowly expanding government. They introduce a new policy in the form of a pilot program, and then they'll hire an outside consulting agency or think tank that conveniently provides them with analytical data to prove that the program works miraculously. And then they use that data to expand the program. And then when it becomes too big and too unsustainable, politicians like Brandon Johnson will argue if we take it away, it will cause so much harm and damage to poor people. And then he'll make the emotionally manipulative case that the richest among us should have no problem paying to help the poorest among us. And then when the richest say, sayonara, we're out of here, Brandon Johnson still won't cut the program because it's essentially a way for him to buy votes within the community. People who are dependent on the government will always vote for the people who want to give them more free stuff. And so the burden inevitably always falls on just regular hardworking people trying to get by who end up having their property taxes doubled. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.